What should we know about this book and or the scene that you're going to read?
So the book itself, I describe it as Pretty Woman meets While You Were Sleeping and the Regency period, if that gives you a little hint as to where we're headed. But it's book one in my first ever Regency series, which are all fairy tale retellings. And this one right here, Cinderella's Charade with the Duke, is basically the story of William, who is a widower, and he is desperate to find someone to help his daughter, Millie, who has become mute after his wife died. So he searched high and low and he finds Hattie. And Hattie is going to arrive as the governess. So the scene I've picked out is from chapter two. It's like their little meet cute moment where they first meet each other.
Awesome. I love a meet cute.
Don't we all, right?
Well, take it away whenever you're ready.
Okay, so here we are, chapter two. William had all but given up on the arrival of Miss Potts when he heard the familiar sound of horses' hooves clip-clopping on the drive hours later as he worked in his study on settling this month's accounts. He glanced up to see the familiar black carriage turning into the long drive leading up to Blythe Manor. Finally, he exhaled in relief, shrugged on his jacket, and sighed. His pulse quickened and his gut churned with unease. He hoped he'd made the right decision. Everything would be fine. He almost snorted at his attempt at self-deception. Very little in his life had worked out anything close to fine as of late. Anticipation, along with a bit of dread, greeted him at the thought of meeting her. He exited his study and moved with purpose down the grand staircase, letting his hands slide down the smooth, polished rail before stepping into a glistening marble hall. His housekeeper, Mrs. Chisholm, sent the staff scurrying to their places, and his butler, Mr. Simmons, sniffed and sent one last disapproving glance William's way. The older man had served under his father and was less than pleased with the selection for governess William had made. Mr. Simmons wished for William to have selected a woman with far more schooling and standing. A stranger from Stowe was not his idea of a role model for Lady Millie, as he now called her. He was loath to remember that Millie was only 5 years old and far from being a lady expected to know the ins and outs of being the daughter of a duke. Your Grace, Mr. Simmons said as he opened the door for William. Simmons, William replied as he adjusted his jacket, hoping the old man wasn't right and that William hadn't blundered yet another aspect of being a father. He walked down the large cascading stone steps to the gravel drive, his heart thundering in his chest. Please let her look the part of a governess, and above all else, please let Millie love her. The mud-splattered carriage came to a rocking halt, the wheels caked heavily in muck. Just as William had expected, the weather must have hampered their journey. Eddie jumped down from his driver's box to settle the horses as a young footman rushed forward to open the carriage door. William held his breath, his chest tightening in anticipation as the door eased open. He could have sworn the whole household took a collective breath. The first thing he saw was a worn, blood-splattered boot, then an askew bonnet as the woman leaned forward to monitor the ground before her. She appeared to be a rather plain-looking young woman dressed entirely in brown. The young woman secured her footing on the drive, lifted her head, and stood staring out blankly towards him. She started at the sight of the entire household before her. He wasn't sure how this young woman, with her rather dated and forgettable ensemble and slightly rolled in shoulders, was the same person from her letter. She looked more like a baby wren having fallen out of its nest than a governess. She was a bit bedraggled and wide-eyed and looked, well, a touch frightened. But it was also far too late for him to rally any other options, and first impressions could be deceptive, as he well knew. Best to get on with it. William sucked in a steadying breath and approached the petite, timid creature. Time was wasting, as it was, and this was the path he had chosen. He would give her a chance and try to trust his decision despite how uncertain he was now. Miss Potts, he said as he settled in front of her. She stilled and studied him, her brown eyes widening. Your Grace, Duke of Wimberley? She replied in the form of a question, followed by a staggering curtsy. Yes, he answered simply, tucking a hand in his trouser pocket. I hope you had a safe journey, he inquired, sticking to generalities for now. Indeed, she said, and flashed him an unexpectedly brilliant smile that showcased a dimple in her left cheek. There was something. She had a lovely smile. He felt her joy in that smile. He almost sighed aloud in relief as some of his worry loosened in his chest. Not all was lost yet. She appeared to be the warm, kind woman he had hoped for. Then I am glad for it, Miss Potts. This is Mrs. Chisholm, my housekeeper, as well as our butler, Mr. Simmons, he said, introducing those most essential to helping her in getting settled in the coming days. Ask them for anything you require. He glanced over to the carriage. Eddie removed the smallest traveling trunk William had ever set eyes on, along with a rather battered portmanteau. Surely this was not all she had. Is your larger trunk being sent on later, Miss Potts? This is all I brought along with me, Your Grace. Thank you again for your kindness and generosity in sending your own carriage for my comfort. I've never traveled in anything other than a stagecoach before. Her large brown eyes settled upon him. They were wide, soft, and, well, a bit charmingly innocent. He shifted on his feet, disarmed by her trust and belief in him, and undone by her gratitude. It had been some time since anyone had thanked him for his kindness and looked at him with such belief and trust. He wasn't sure he deserved it. I'm pleased to hear it, he replied, and cleared his throat, uneasy with her appreciation, uncertain of what to do with it. You must be tired. Please come in, and when you're ready, we can meet to discuss your role here as governess at Blythe Manor in the coming weeks. I can also introduce you to Miss Bellows, Milly's day nurse, and of course my daughter, Milly. Thank you, Your Grace, she flushed, rushing at her skirts. I shall freshen up. I apologize for my appearance. I did not expect you to greet me upon my arrival. It was kind of you to make the time to do so. She again bobbed her body up and down in an attempt at a curtsy, then scurried up the stairs behind Mrs. Chisholm before he could utter a reply. Simmons edged over to him, dropping his voice low. It is not too late to send her on her way home without harm, Your Grace. She does not look the sort to be a governess to a family of your standing. William was tempted, but then he remembered her smile. There was something there in that smile, and he had to believe and trust in his choice, and at least try. Let us not give up just yet, William replied. There may be a hidden gem within all those shades of brown. We must have the patience to uncover it. The lie sounded fine upon his lips. Now he merely needed to believe it to be the truth.